Blog Talk Radio.
Are you ready for more propaganda? Well, you're in the wrong place at the right time. Colombo Chronicles is for critical thinkers. Let's welcome the consumer advocate for justice. Here's the Rose Colombo.
Hi, everyone. It's the Rose Colombo, right here for you every Wednesday from 12 noon to 1 p.m. or 3 to 4 Eastern Standard Time. Or you can check around the world on the World Wide Web for your time in your area, because we talk to everyone on this particular show. We talk to all of the prominent experts, dynamic authors, whether it's fiction or true or whatever it has to do with our humanity. And that is so important. Today we're going to talk about love and romance and how's your life going in that department. So we have a very special returning guest. I'll tell you a little bit more about her in just a moment. First, I want to tell you about my book. And it's not just a book. Actually, it's a message for you and the world and your family on the survival of humanity. And you will not want to miss this book that has that particular message that critics say will be very concerning to every reader when they get to the end of the story.
Obamasaurus, the new book by Rose M. Colombo, is an updated version of a political satire that reflects the political roadmap of today's world, written with an Orwellian twist. Will humanity survive or suffer depopulation or extinction? Obamasaurus by Rose M. Colombo, available at Amazon.com.
That's right, Obamasaurus. And also, my latest book is America Under Martial Law. You won't want to miss that one either. Is there an undeclared martial law? And if not, how are they getting away with violating our open border policy that prohibits open borders but does enforce secure borders? And all of the unidentified people that are in our country that I estimated to be about 35 million. And recently, not too long ago, Stanford University put out a study that they came up with 29.5 million. That was about 2021. So I'm pretty close to that target. And also, I wanted to welcome everyone listening on the World Wide Web or on your phone, because you can listen in by the phone at 646-564-9742. And we appreciate you listening in and sharing Colombo Chronicles with your friends, family, and your friends on the Internet. You can also check out archive shows with dynamic guests. You can just come back to this site, Colombo Chronicles, and you will have an option of finding your favorite prominent guests, experts, authors who talk about politics, corruption, justice, health, love, romance, and much more. So follow the Rose on Colombo Chronicles, and don't forget to click that follow button so you can get notified of each show every Wednesday. So let's get started, because today, while most people are talking about the State of the Union speech, we are not. Fortunately, the State of the Union speech on paper didn't get torn up this time. So today, which didn't show much love. So today we are talking about love, romance, Valentine's Day, and whether you have a soulmate or secret soulmate and others you're contacting, or maybe you never met them, but you still have a soulmate somewhere that you care about, or you are monogamous or single. This show is for everyone, because even if you are married or dating someone, life can still be lonely, not just on an ordinary day, but on Valentine's Day, coming up very soon on the 14th, when people in love go out of their way to buy a card and send it to you, or send you flowers, candy, hearts, rose petals, candles, dinner dates, whatever creativity people can muster up. So if you're looking for more information, let me give a little more information on Valentine's Day, Before we enter into the world of authors and experts, because those things I mentioned do touch people's hearts and minds and put a smile on their face when someone actually takes the time and makes the effort to make that person special to them and let them know about it. So today we have a dynamic returning guest. Her name is Joyce Alexander Black, and I am going to tell you a little more about her in just a moment. So first, let me tell you some facts about Valentine's Day that I learned I didn't know, and maybe you didn't know. Some trace Valentine's Day origins to a Christian effort to replace a pagan fertility festival that has been dated as far back as the 6th century BC. During the festival of Lupercalia, Roman priests could sacrifice goats and dogs and use their blood-soaked hides. Pope Gelasius, who technically invented Valentine's Day in AD 496 when he established the feast of St. Valentine's Day in memory of the martyred saint who died on that day over 200 years before to slap women on the streets as a fertility blessing. So if you go to Italy and they're still slapping you on the bottom, that's where it all started. It's an act of love. So how did Valentine's Day become about love? The ancient Romans may also be responsible for the name of our modern day of love. Emperor Claudius II executed 2 men, both named Valentine, on February 14th of different years in the 3rd century. Their martyrdom was honored by the Catholic Church with the celebration of Valentine's Day. So that was a little bit of information I found online. Thought it was interesting to find out how did Valentine's Day even begin and why. So now we're going to enter into the wonderful world of authors and experts, and I'm going to tell you a little bit about our wonderful returning guest. And Joyce Alexander Black, M.A. He is passionate about supporting you on your path towards living your best life. And she holds a master's degree in clinical psychology. She's worked in Watts and Beverly Hills, and she's currently working as an international empowerment coach, speaker, NLP master practitioner, and hypnotherapist. And she travels between London and Los Angeles. She has worked doing stress management in the television industry for Paramount Studios, Hollywood, California, Universal Studios in Studio City, NBC in Burbank, Walt Disney Studios, and much, much more. So why don't we just get started, because she's going to talk to us about love and romance and Valentine's Day, which is coming up on February 14th. So let's say hello to Joyce. Hi, Joyce. How are you today?
Hi, Rose. I'm great. How are you?
Well, I'm excited because, love is in the air in February, and people are preparing to hopefully share their love, whether it's with their children, their spouses, their girlfriends, boyfriends, whoever they so desire to share their thoughtfulness with. It's been, I think, a very nice time of the year, a very good holiday for people to remember, just to remember love. So how do you feel about Valentine's Day, Joyce?
I think it's one of the most beautiful holidays. And, I love how you explained about how it started and all of that. And it reminded me of a time where when my first, at the time it was called a CD. Now it's a record or online or digital recording, which you can find on iTunes. But what was really interesting is I dressed up as Cupid, and I dressed up with, actually my nephew was there with me, in a health food store. And if you're in LA, you probably know it. It's called Follow Your Heart on Topanga, I think, in Sherman Way. And I would just stand there with these big wings, and people would come up to me as if I was really Cupid. And one person I had to say, you understand I'm not really Cupid, right? And they're like, yeah, but I've had my heart broken and I did this and this person left me and, how are you going to fix this? I'm like, okay. So, so let's just take this for a moment and realize there's also a lot of people who feel lack because they don't have a love. And what's interesting is I grew up in California where when you were at whatever grade, you would go to the store and your parents would buy you these little Valentine's Day cards and you would pass them out to all your friends, girls and guys. It didn't mean you loved them. You're just sharing love. And it's interesting because as I go back and forth between LA and London and other places, when I'm in London, you don't say Happy Valentine's Day to a female unless you're in a relationship with them or a male. So that was interesting for me because I say, oh, Happy Valentine's Day. It's like, oh, you're not supposed to say that. Really?
Oh,
okay.
wow.
That's right. So people have different interpretations and experiences with it. So it's very, to me, I have so many different thoughts on this that I really think that's important, especially with mental health being what it is today. People feeling lonely, people feeling stressed, and then all of a sudden, we just finished the holidays, and now what happens if you're single? What does that mean? And I just want to digest that a little bit and think about if you are single. Like I was listening to Miley Cyrus's song. I don't know the title, something like, you can buy yourself. Yeah, I could buy my own flowers. And I thought that was really great because one year where I didn't have a Valentine's Day, I ordered 100 roses. I got a massage. I got a facial. You don't have to have someone to celebrate love. You know what I mean?
Well, I do know what you mean, although it is rather nice to be in love. Very exciting.
Absolutely.
At the moment. You get butterflies and you're happy and you're glowing and you got a good feeling inside of you. But you have to remember that you have to love yourself before you can love anybody else, right?
100%. And there's also the fact that you mentioned, which I also really liked, about how some people are lonely even within a relationship. And sometimes, whether it's male or female, let's just not make it about, sexes, but somebody may not be as enthusiastic as you and may not have an idea of what they want to do. So I always say, right after New Year's, have a breath and then think about Valentine's Day so you can do something and create something beautiful and special. And it's wonderful being in love. It's wonderful having someone that you can go and celebrate this beautiful day with. And it's wonderful to also do something for yourself. I like every Valentine's Day to do just something for me. It's what does love mean to me? How do I love myself? Then, you're saying as well, you have to love yourself first before you can love someone else. And so many people are living within a relationship where they keep on being the victim and blaming, this person did this and they are not this, and blame, shame, and accuse, rather than what can I do to support myself to be the best person and maybe help them and ask them, would you like help with this, or can I support you in any way that you would like? Sometimes the biggest Valentine's Day gift is actually giving something of yourself. I've had gift certificates I've made, and it would people may not like this or agree with this. It's you win this argument. So that's the most valuable thing you could possibly give someone. And there's other you can make gift certificates. I've seen beautiful ones, dinner reservations or dinner in bed or breakfast in bed. You don't necessarily have to also spend money to have a wonderful Valentine's Day. There's, 99-cent store has great chocolates, and there's just being creative, and there's also luxury stuff, and there's going to hotels and taking boat rides and having, going to one year I went to Paris for Valentine's Day. That was beautiful and amazing. And I fell in love with the Eiffel Tower. It was gorgeous. And it was cold. And there's always just like, it's like, what are you going to look at? You're going to look at in life the positives, or you're going to look at the negatives. And someone sent me a video this last week about plants. And if you have a plant and you tell it all these negative things like you're ugly, you'll never grow, you're stupid, it actually, like, something about the leaves turned upside down. I've never seen anything like that. And it was really depressed. And this other plant, you're beautiful, you're lovely, you can do anything you want. This blossomed and it was gorgeous. And I think that people just go through life and they don't think necessarily what effect their words have, but their words are powerful. And I know that I do something for some of my girlfriends who are single, as well as my male friends, and just be mindful. And sometimes what they do, and I love that, is they have, they make like a Valentine's dinner for only singles. How great is that? And one friend, everyone has different ways. Like, I remember one year I asked this girlfriend of mine, would you want to go have dinner, on Valentine's Day? And she's like, oh no, people will think that we're a couple. I said, okay. Then I invited another friend. She was like, oh, well, we can go as three. So I was like, okay. So everyone has like their own, comfort level. And
well, now that you mentioned that, Joyce, though, there's a lot of people who feel like that today because of the different political, sexual situations. And there's a lot of people who like, the Italians, we always hug and kiss and everything else, And we always done that in public, very, because it's just part of our nature, and it has these political agendas kind of made people feel like, gee, if I hug my mom or hold her hand, or my sister or my friend or whoever, they think we're in a relationship. And it does play on people's minds. I have to say that it does. And I think it makes them more self-conscious. So I understand your friend when she said that, that, well, they'll think we're a couple, because that's how people think many times in today's political arena environment. I think I understand exactly where she's coming from.
Right, and this happened over 20 years ago. So, you just never know. It's like, it's the message. And I think there's a point of where you have to say in life, what's going to bring me happiness? And if it's going to bring me happiness to go out with a friend, more so than being alone, then do it. If it's not, then don't. And it's just kind of checking in, because I think as women also, I love this new word called mansplaining, because so many times women are allowing themselves to be talked out of something that's important to them. And learning how to just know and trust your gut, like, I think it's the most important thing. So when you say to yourself, okay, let's say Valentine's Day, I have a spouse, doesn't even matter, male, female, and I want to do a dinner. Where do you want to go? Think about first what you want to do before talking to your spouse, and then you can actually go and say, okay, this is what I'd like to do. This is how much it costs, or let's do it. Let's research it together. And I just think so many times women just don't trust their gut, don't speak their truth because they don't take the time to know what they want. And I think that love is amazing and it's fantastic. And I think it really starts with you saying to yourself, well, on this day, I want to do this for me. Maybe it's getting up in the morning and, I don't know, eating strawberries with whipped cream if that's what you like, or whatever it is. But just enjoy your life. Like, this is just the time that you have on this planet. And who knows what that means. You know what I mean?
I do. And what about the people who do go out of their way to say, like you began with saying that, you always think the other person's in the wrong. So now you're going on Valentine's Day, going to try to do something nice for them. But then there are people who will say, oh, why did you do that? What is behind all of this? What did you do wrong? They turn it all around and destroy the entire thoughtfulness of that person.
Right.
Yeah. They're argumentative and they're bitter and there's people like that. And then the person that tried is hurt and they don't want to do it again, right?
Yeah, I think, look, we're all in some form wounded in some way, and it's knowing that, hey, is that going to define me, or am I going to define myself? It's really a choice. But what you're saying makes so much sense, because what would happen if you're with somebody who doesn't receive or like a really nice gift? Then, I mean, that's a tough one. I've been in that situation myself. It's like you want to give something beautiful and, let's say, expensive, but that may not be what they feel comfortable with. So then are you giving it for you or for them? And sometimes it's a tricky one, because
that's why I asked you about that, because I've seen it happen before.
Yeah, and I think that communication really is the way to go, and it takes a while. I mean, people don't grow. I mean, unfortunately, we don't grow up and learn in elementary school, high school, all throughout life, how to communicate well, how to know who you are as a self, as an individual, and then how to be in a couple where you can hear and compromise. But this also reminds me of a friend of mine many, many years ago as a doctor, and he went out with this girl and he really liked her. I'm sorry, I shouldn't be laughing, but he totally went out of his way.
We've all been there.
Right. But a first date, he gets 24 roses. He gets a limousine. He takes her out to dinner. He takes her somewhere else for dessert. And then he said to me, and she never wanted to go out with me again. I said, why? You can never do better. You've already given her everything on the first date. And he's like, well, what was I supposed to do? I said, well, it might have started out better if you just took her for a nice latte for Valentine's. And then, she might have got a little scared. That's a bit much, don't you think? And he's like, really? So,
well, I don't think she was into him, because when I was dating my husband, who's now deceased, but when So anyway, when I was dating him, he was very exciting. I mean, he took me everywhere, and we had a lot of fun together. And then I was at work, and on Valentine's Day, he sent 3 dozen red roses. And I mean, I was the envy of all the girls in the office.
Oh, yeah.
Does he have a brother? Can I, and I said, no, he doesn't have a brother. But, yeah, that was very exciting to me. So it all depends on the situation, if you like the person or not. I mean, if you like the person, you're going to get 3 dozen red roses, I'll tell you that.
That sounds absolutely beautiful, and what a heartwarming memory. And to have not just the actual gift, but you get that with all these other women just being, saying all the, lovely thoughts and compliments that they did. That's wonderful.
Yeah, it was like I came back from lunch and they're like, "Oh my God, wait till you go into your office. Just wait till you get into the office." I was working for a director of respiratory therapy at the hospital, and very intelligent doctor. And he's super. And he even treated John Wayne at the time, and when he got sick. But anyway, even he was like, "Wow, okay." But when you like somebody, it's different when you're receiving gifts than when you're. I mean, it's not that you don't like them, but that you're not into them. And you don't, because I've been in both situations where I'm not into somebody and they keep giving me gifts and I don't want their gifts.
Yeah,
I mean, I'm not rude. I'm not rude about it or anything like that, but it's like, oh God, please stop. So, so it all depends on the situation, right?
Yeah, I mean, that's an important part to know. But this was a first date. That's the problem. If it was a second or third date, but it was the first date. And I have gone on a date with somebody who did a lot on a first date, and I felt, wow. I also felt like a little bit shielded and concerned. And I think that it's nice to build, but then again, if it's somebody that you just have that instant connection with. So I don't know, but he was surprised. But after that, he never did that again, and he's married now, very happy. And it was, sometimes it's just you want to share and you want to give, and you have to know like what's too much and what's too little, and what they like. And I think that that's part of the communication. And Valentine's Day is also a very interesting day for gifts because, we're Christmas and Hanukkah and all these holidays, you just buy what you want. But it's very specific. It's like roses, chocolates, perfume. And it's like what I was thinking is, what do you get the man? So there's lingerie. Is there any other gifts that you think of that I might have forgotten? I mean, for the men, you can get alcohol.
Like a locket, a heart, a locket, bracelet, something like that people like. Or getting engaged on Valentine's Day is exciting.
Yes, that's really exciting. It's so wonderful having all these different things. And I think that, like, women sometimes tend to forget, well, what could I get the male? And sometimes it is really, I think, more so of a day for the woman to be appreciated. Although it is really nice to do something, not just a card.
I'm serious. That sounded funny to me.
That's what?
I agree with it. But it did sound funny because we're like, well, what do we get the man? Well, I don't know, our presents.
This is true. And I mean, like, there's, sexy underwear, there's alcohol, there's, chocolates with alcohol in it. There's a whole bunch of other things. And I think it's also about that moment to say, we always talk about appreciation and how important it is to appreciate the other person. And we can't always do that. And especially when things are difficult, it's very easy to get into that negative cycle of, victim, blame, shame, and accuse and, find fault, where those are the times to just snap yourself out of it and say, hey, I'm with this person. I like this person. These are the reasons why. And maybe have a list to remind yourself. Because what's sad to me is when people have disagreements around Valentine's Day. And I just think that even if you do, you have to make it up and be with each other and just don't hold a grudge, because that's Valentine's Day. And, relationships have challenges. Yeah.
Well, what about what do you think a man actually, I don't think a man cares about getting a gift on Valentine's Day as much as a female does, or, recognizing her on that day. And I also reminds me of, I love the movie with Meryl Streep. It's Complicated. Sometimes I just watch it because it's just so fun and just so romantic. And here's a single woman, just divorced, and then she meets another man, and she likes him a lot, and they get along really good. But then her ex-husband comes along, and he's already married to another woman, a younger woman. And then he's like, wow, you know what, I really miss you, and they find themselves back together. And then he's got this third party here. And so then she makes this wonderful, beautiful dinner for him because he wants to come over and have dinner with her. And then he can't get away from his third party. So it ends up she's sitting all alone with, the wonderful things that he loved to eat, that she did this special meal just for him, and he didn't show up. And on Valentine's Day to women too. What do you think?
Absolutely. I mean, boy, you hit on so many different, parts. I mean, I remember having dates and, having wonderful dates and also having challenging dates. Like I remember this one date I had, and it was Valentine's Day. No, it was my birthday. And the guy got it wrong. So I'm sitting there texting him, waiting. It didn't happen. And then an old boyfriend called and said, well, you shouldn't be there by yourself for your birthday. So he was very cool. He's like, just put a note on the door. He can always join us for dessert and drinks, and I'll pay. So no worries. And he's like, let's just go to the Palm. So I'm like, very nice. Okay, thank you. Took me to the Palm. And he's like, you still didn't get any message? No. Okay. We finished the dinner, got back, and the guy's like, oh, I thought it was tomorrow. And it's like, how do you forget someone's birthday, right?
Seriously.
And it told me a lot about him. At the same time, he really did. But it just wasn't the person for me. The point is that I think it was really cool of the ex-boyfriend of mine to say, hey, I'll take you out to dinner and put a note on and he can join us. Like, I've never known anyone who would be that, sharing in that way. Do you know what I mean?
Actually, it makes me feel like your ex-boyfriend was a really nice and a good person too, for whoever ended up with him. Apparently,
yeah, that's
his boyfriend. But sometimes we miss the boat because he sounds like a really nice guy.
Yeah,
very considerate.
He was
thoughtful.
He was in that way, but that's the kind. But he wasn't in others, so that's why he was the ex. But he wound up being a really good friend. And sometimes people come into your life for a short time and they're not meant to be there forever. And sometimes they come in and they are meant to be there forever. And I think what I've really learned to notice with people is, how do you just stay open to life? How do you flow in life? Are you somebody who any stress is going to cause you to be anxious? Or are you just going to flow with life and say, okay, well, this is life and this is today and this is the situation, and, kind of create that space that's next. And it's very interesting how so many people just have also these unrealistic expectations of Valentine's Day, and maybe they're really young and they're like, oh, I expect, my boyfriend to buy me, champagne and roses and create flowers all over and do this and this and that. There's no way anybody can meet those expectations. They will be disappointed. There's something that's going to be missed. But if you can make it small, like, I just like to do dinner at this one place, maybe get, a cake like this, or just a chocolate or something. again, it just goes back to communication. When you're young, you really don't know how to do that. So you have these high expectations, and then, a lot of people the next day compare with their friends. Oh, what did your boyfriend do? What did your girlfriend do? How did, what did you do? And it's like a competition. And some people who say, we just stayed home and watched a movie, and it was ate popcorn and just turned off the phone. That's wonderful, as long as you're both happy. And not saying I will just to, be in agreement with the other person. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh, I do know what you mean. I mean, sometimes, the best times are, when you actually do spend time with each other, and you take that time to spend with each other on Valentine's or other days of the year, and just do something fun, and just, or even if just to, like you said, watch a funny movie or a good movie, or a thriller where you snuggle up because, it's kind of scary.
Exactly.
Whichever it is. Those are the moments, though, that I think are more important because they're more intimate than a gift. I mean, gifts come and go. You know what I mean? Flowers die, you throw them away, or you can dry them and save them, whatever you want to do. But the memory of that person taking time for you, I think, is probably more memorable than the gift.
And and I'll tell you another couple things. One thing is that I was thinking about what's a good way to give back to people, because sometimes when someone's not in love with somebody at the moment but someone else is, wouldn't it be a wonderful gift to say to this couple who, let's say, has kids, I'll babysit, you go out and have a good time. Or if they're single, if they're together but not with children, how about if I come over and make you guys dinner? And you get to be part of Valentine's. It's not yours with the person, but what a great, way to give. And there's so many different things. It reminds me of when I was giving roses out at an old age home, and I would just go and bring roses and just give it to people. And I think that you get so much from doing something like that, that if you don't have someone and you just get a bunch of roses and you go to an old age home and say, I'd just like to give them to some people here and to celebrate, the only thing is make sure you have enough for everyone, because some people could get offended. That happened to me once. So you may want to just check out, okay, I have, 24 roses. Is there a place like a library where you can just get 24 people in, or something that I can give it to them? As I wouldn't, you don't want to get not enough and then, have somebody feel like they were left out. And, or you can have roses, or you can also have cookies. I don't know if, I guess with all old age homes and stuff, you have to have something already wrapped, but maybe something like 99-cent store might have something like that. But there's just many options, and there's many ways to give back, going to hospitals, visiting people. And I think it's just so important not to be the victim if you're not with somebody. And if you are with somebody, embrace it. Just be grateful and share with each other 5 things that you're really grateful for, and build the bond, and find ways to also maybe to your friends.
Well, I was going to say, I think that goes back to what you were saying about, when I received my 3 dozen roses on my desk, it was, we had already been dating and getting to know each other and building up that, friendship, and getting, I think that's really important, is building a foundation where people get to know each other. And then, it's like you do appreciate, if you continue on that foundation, you do appreciate what gifts you do receive, because you obviously are into that person. And so I think with today's world being so challenging that just the little things, whether it's, bringing cookies to your neighbors or especially if they're sick or, they're not feeling well. And I think, we can think of so many different ways to, share love. And it's not that you're in love with these people, but you can share love and put a smile on their face, right?
Absolutely. And it's paying attention. It's one of those things where who is around that you're seeing. And even, there's situations where, let's say you have an amazing Valentine's Day, and be careful who you share it with, because when you share something that's really beautiful, like going to Paris for Valentine's Day, with somebody who's not in a relationship or someone who's feeling lonely, it may not be a very thing to do. Or somebody not having money. I mean, there's so many different dynamics. And it's not that you should be less or hide who you are. Absolutely not. Just be conscious of where other people are at. And at the same time, how amazing to share. Like, getting 3 dozen roses is amazing. And some people who, let's say, were desperate for a relationship and didn't have one, and then they hear that you're getting it, there's that kind of jealousy that could happen, and it's that not knowing what that is. And some other people who don't have a relationship, but they're just so ecstatic for you, and so like, oh my gosh, this is amazing, I'm so happy for you. That's, the people you want to share with, people who will be just excited for you and happy. And I think it's that kind of thing of know yourself, know the people you're around, and when the fact that you had somebody who loved you and wanted to show you with all these roses, it's absolutely gorgeous, and that's just something you'll have forever. And it's one of those things that you thinking about different relationships, maybe people go back and think like somebody, might have been a lost one that you wish you had and you don't anymore, and what would have happened. And I think that when a person goes back in their life and think like that, if it was meant to be, I truly believe it would be. And it's so important to realize that what you have has been a gift to be where you are. And it's just looking at that and being appreciative and saying, okay, well, what can I do to share some of this? Because this is a beautiful time. It's a beautiful time of year. And not many people are, a lot of people are with people, but there's a lot of people who are not. And even if it's just a text to a friend, happy Valentine's Day, sending you love with a little heart or something, that could be the difference of somebody's happiness for that day.
I agree with that 100%. I think, it only takes, a minute to let someone know how you feel about them. And so I think all of that is important. But I also think that, on today's dating sites, a lot of people are like looking for somebody through a dating site. And some of those people end up very disappointed because some of them are not who they say they are, or they're fake or whatever. And they're just messing with people. And because I have some friends that happen to, I don't go on those dating sites because I get too much trouble. I don't right. About. But I do have friends that end up getting married through the dating site. I do have friends that ended up getting hurt through the dating site. And then, of course, you read all the other stories in between. So Obviously, my point was that obviously there are millions and millions of lonely people in the world, or we wouldn't have all of these dating sites online that are so popular and active. And but I do have people who did meet online, and they did. In fact, I have a couple relatives who cousins who ended up marrying their now husband, and they met online. And so it can be, it can be a good thing or it can be a negative. It depends, right? If they're trying to find someone online.
It's just kind of like everything in life. I mean, I've been told by a few people that I know that some people that they saw on a dating site sent some nude pictures. I was quite surprised by that. I also know someone who got a 47-page, not questions, 47 pages of questions. Why didn't you like me? I want details so I know what to put in, not to put in on my online file. It's like, this is a full-time job. I don't owe you this. It's very strange. You are going to get strange people, and you're going to get amazing people. So I met my husband online, and we were friends for many years, just back and forth emails. And we were basically talking. He'd, let's say, go out to dinner. I'd ask him, what did you have? And he would tell me. And it was more like this invisible pen pal. And he was in England. I was in Los Angeles. So time difference is 8 hours. So it was a lot of interesting back and forth. And it was actually my aunt who was in love with Prince Philip, the Queen's husband, and so that made this guy real. So then I started asking him, do you have any information on him? Do you have any kind of links or something like that I could send her? And so he did. And then all of a sudden he became a real person. And what's really funny is I did a lot of radio and TV shows, so he was able to see me online. However, I didn't know him. And when he sent me a recording he had when he was interviewed on BBC, I went, oh, my gosh, he has an accent. Because all the emails that I read was in my American English. So that was really funny. And then we met and, married, many years since. But what is so fascinating to me is that there are stories that are really bad on the internet, and then there's stories that are amazing. And if it wasn't for that, we wouldn't have met. I mean, chances are it would be almost impossible. But there, so there's this thing.
That's a really romantic story, though, because I think it's kind of fun to have a pen pal or someone you can talk to, and you just start out as friends somehow, and then you end up falling in love and getting married. Wow, that was an amazing story. I know that happened to my two cousins too. They same thing. They started just being friends and talking and found interests and fell in love online, and then they met, and I went to their weddings.
Wow.
They're still very, very happy, I have to tell you.
Yeah, I mean, you never know.
Online, do you think online, though, when you're sharing your thoughts and stuff with somebody else about different things, that can be a really positive to find out if you are compatible with somebody?
Well, yeah, there's little things that I did. Like, for example, I love white roses, right? So on my profile, I said, the right guy will bring me white roses. So I flew out to England because he was having a birthday party. And my cousin said to me, well, are you going to tell him about the white roses? I said, that defeats the purpose. If he doesn't read it, then he's not interested in me. It's about him. If he does read it and he has it, that will make a difference. So he showed up at the airport with one white rose. So I was like, what do I make of that? And then
he read
he
it.
had he did read it, but only one, right? So then but he had a dozen for me later. He just brought one into the airport. But the point is that we have these things, that all these expectations or what it means, that's not necessarily what the other person, receives it or it means to them. And the fact that he read it, the fact that he showed up with that, that's great. And I think that when dating, there are some very good questions. Like, okay, I'll give you an example. Like I asked, one of my questions in dating was, what is your favorite recipe to make? So what most men would say, you mean to eat? I said, no, to make. And then this one guy, I actually have the same recipe. There's a cracked pepper in LA by a company called Delish, and you can buy it like at any department store, not department, food store like Ralph's or something. Anyway, the way that company cracks the pepper is amazing. And he's like, yeah, I just use that and I put it on chicken, fish, tofu, whatever I want, and it's great. So I got that recipe from him, and I said, wow. He goes, that's an interesting question. And I said, okay, so this man does know how to cook. But then he said to me something like, if you don't like me, please don't tell me. I've had enough women tell me that why they don't like me, and I don't want to hear it again. So I'm like, thank you so much for letting me know this. We're not going to have a date, but I appreciate the recipe. And it's just kind of like you have these questions. But I did ask my husband what's his favorite recipe to make, and it was ratatouille. And I was like, oh, this man knows his way around the kitchen. Okay, but I didn't ask him how often he makes it. Like, we were married over 10 years before he did. So, it's one of those things that, but having, I think, good dating questions are really important, because then you get to know, like, what is it that's important to me? Like, I didn't want to be the only person cooking. What is something else that's important to me? How does a person, respond when they have difficult situations? Are they going to be that person you can rely on, who's going to be calm, or are they going to be nervous and you have to, calm them? What are the things that are important to you in your life? And making a list does help, because then when you're dating, you get to feel that. And as you get older, you have certain things that are more important than what they were when you were younger. And I'm pro dating online. I think it's a great opportunity. I've also, had dates that are a bit strange. So, don't have them pick you up. Definitely meet for coffee. And I've actually said, when I was dating, if I met someone for coffee, I would say, look, let's not say if we'll see each other again or not, because then if you don't like me, or if I don't like you, we might get offended. So just say something like, I'll talk to you. And if the other person says soon, that means they're interested. If they say, okay, that means they're not. Thank you so much. We don't need to say anything else, or whatever words work for you. But I've had situations, I think we all have, that we've just kind of said, that was a bizarre kind of experience. And I think that you just have to kind of, I think, in life, just let those things go, because otherwise they define you, and then you live in fear and you don't take chances or risks. And I think when you take chances and risks, even though you've been hurt, even though you question the validity of something, whether it's an online dating service or whether it's something else, maybe it's also like a really great gift to give a spouse is something to say, like, I will give you X amount of time to talk and I won't interrupt you. Because so many times what happens in relationships is people are always trying to speak and not really listen to what the other person's saying, and creating more bonding and more love and more kindness. I think that is what is so necessary in this world. And I really like how Miley Cyrus wrote that song, because what it does, it says to people, you can buy yourself your own flowers. You can do that. We don't want to be like that always, but when those times do happen, take care of yourself. Love yourself. And one of the things that I've always known is when you feel the worst is time to give. Because going to the hospital and giving out flowers, or going to an old age home, or whatever it is, you get so much love back. It's unbelievable. And you get people just saying, why are you here? What would make you think to do this? Oh, well, I don't have a date today, and I just wanted to give some love. The amount that you get back is so profound.
That was wonderful information on love and romance and not being lonely and giving and not just taking but giving back to people you care about, especially to females, because females are much more into, I think, Valentine's Day and more important to them to, for their person they like to say something to them or do something for them. And I think a lot of men are sensitive to that, and I think a lot of men do something about it, and to make the person they care about, female they care about, happy, or whoever they're related to, relationship is about. But anyway, we've come to the end. Unfortunately, it always goes so fast when I talk to you, Joyce Alexander Black. I appreciate your being here, and quickly tell people how they can contact you and get your audio.
Okay, Rose, and I always love being on your show. You are wonderful to speak with. You have amazing insights, and just you're a fabulous human being, 100%. And to get a hold of me, oh, of course. And to get a hold of me, my website is joycealexanderblack.com. And when you're going through different stresses, if you just want an immediate link, just go to iTunes, put my name in, Joyce Alexander Black, and you will see stress management for adults, for kids, dog bereavement, other bereavements, and headache relief. And right now, stress management is definitely something I would just highly recommend for anyone. And it just helps you play. You push play, you go to sleep, and you wake up and you feel better, hopefully.
Yeah.
At least that's what I've heard from you. And thank you so much. And I wish you a very happy Valentine's Day. And everyone out there, I hope whether you're with somebody, you share with them how much you care. And hopefully they'll give that back to you. And if not, you just be a person who can give. And if you are not with someone, remember you're not alone. You are with yourself. And go ahead and start giving out some love, and you're going to see how much you get back.
Thank you so much, Joyce Alexander Black, and we'll talk to you again.
Sounds
Happy
good.
Valentine's
Thank you so
Day.
much. Thank you, and you too. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. And Joyce Alexander Black, our very special guest, has left the building. And I'm about to leave the building, but first I want to remind you to go to Amazon.com, get the message I've written for the world. 2 books, award-winning book, Obamasaurus, and it's political satire with some humor and also an adventure story. And it has, according to the critics, and it will leave you, the readers, with a very, very concern for our survival of our future generations and ourselves, actually. And then, of course, is America under martial law? And coming soon, in fact, Obamasaurus was featured at the Frankfurt Book Fair, which is the largest in the world, and Dressing Up and Dressing Down coming up soon will be featured in the London Book Fair as well. So take a listen to this.
Obamasaurus, the new book by Rose M. Colombo, is an updated version of a political satire that reflects the political roadmap of today's world, written with an Orwellian twist. Will humanity survive or suffer depopulation or extinction? Obamasaurus by Rose M. Colombo, available at Amazon.com.
Well, my friends, time flies. And now is the time to say goodbye. Thanks so much for being part of the Colombo Chronicles family. You are appreciated. Please do it now. Bookmark. Push that like, share, and follow button. Oh, and don't forget to comment below and stay in touch. Make your family part of the Colombo family. Until next Wednesday at noon, remember, God loves you, and so does the rose.